I can't find the fade out. Hey folks, how you doing? Nate Jennison. It's the Monday Guitar Show. We're doing the thing that we do on Mondays, which is hang out and talk about the guitar. And if I do say so myself, I'm looking quite dark today. So let's maybe turn the lights up a little bit. It's getting a little bit grim in here. Let's just get a little bit more light on us. Hey, that's a little bit better. Folks, welcome on board. Today we are back on the new series of streams, and we are tackling one of the topics that comes up again and again and again, and let's be honest, it's one that I love tackling, which is how do I get a little bit faster? How do I get a little bit faster on the old guitar fiddle? Now, this is something that a lot of people will struggle with for a whole variety of reasons, and today we're going to talk about some potential roadblocks that you may be putting in your own way when it comes to your guitar speed progress. So these are going to be some quick fixes. That's basically the gist of this, right? We're going to see if we can get some of these roadblocks out of your way and get you on the path to playing as quickly and as cleanly and as efficiently as you would personally like to play. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. If you're enjoying what we're doing here on stream, a couple of ways you can help us out. You can keep us keeping the lights on. I say that with somewhat of a little wince because I managed to trip the electrics in my studio today, and it was a whole thing trying to get them switched back on. Luckily, the studio owner, the guy I rent the room from, came through clutch, but man, I was up on the roof looking for the fuse box, all sorts of stuff. It was crazy. I had a little panic on, but we're all right now. Everything is well in the world. So yes, if you want to help us keep the lights on and prevent me from doing all sorts of silly things like tripping the fuses, you can do the following. The free way that you can help us out is by clicking the like button and the subscribe button down below and sharing this with your guitar playing friends. We would like to get this out to as many guitar players as is humanly possible. Also, a couple of ways you can help us out if you're interested in gaining a little something in the process. We are currently running a sale on licklibrary.com memberships. Don't forget that licklibrary.com is, of course, the website that brings you these streams, no less. And I'm going to give you guys a quick little look at what we're doing for you, because we've got all sorts of stuff going on over at Lick Library. This sale in particular is a 33% sale off our annual subscription. So if you sign up for a whole year, you get 33% off the whole deal. It's a bonkers sale, let's be honest, because there's so much great stuff in there. You can go to licklibrary.com/subscription offers. I'll post the link. It's probably a little bit easier. I'll post that in the comments. You guys will be able to see that, I am sure, unless we are limited in terms of what we can post in terms of URLs. But I've posted it on there anyway. Let's see that on stream. If you want to go to this link, you can go grab yourself a 33% off membership offer. It's a huge deal, never to be repeated, or maybe to be repeated, but probably never, because I wouldn't be repeating that deal. That's a lot of money to save. Anyway, listen, before we get too deep into the weeds, let's say some hellos and then we'll talk more about the guitar. Hopefully you have a guitar with you. So I'm going to encourage you guys, if you haven't already, go grab a guitar, because you're going to want an instrument for this stream. You'll want something on your lap. I'm also going to encourage you, for reasons, to grab a guitar that doesn't have a locking tremolo. Right, so grab me a guitar that doesn't have a locking tremolo unit, because we're going to be doing a little bit of retuning over the course of today's stream as part of our explorations together. So you're going to want a guitar that you can retune quite quickly. Anyway, let's say some hellos to our friends in the stream. We're going to, rather than doing this in order, we're going to start with this one. Let's see very quickly. First of all, I'm going to quickly find this. We're going to start this with our friend Mike Seedorf, who's in with some great news. Mike is telling us that he has an update on his daughter. I'm really pleased that you came in and told us this, Mike, right? I'm super pleased to hear that. She's walking with a walker and progressing every day. Man, keep us updated. All the best. You are in our thoughts, man, and I'm so glad that things are progressing in the right direction for you and your family, man. That has really made me very happy. So yeah, we're super pleased to hear that. But we'll say some more hellos very quickly before we get into the thing. So we're going to say hello to Timothy Appling first through the door. Marcin with some love for the thumbnail. I like that thumbnail too, and that thumbnail is our man Stuart Shields' work. Stuart does all of the thumbnails on all of these streams. I think it is a great great job, and I think that one in particular is a really nice one, so I'm glad you spotted that, man. PJ says, hi guys, hi Nick, hi guys, speed obstacles, me. Well, you know, we all bump up against them. Me too, right? Me too. Larry Warren is in the house. Sacred Godslayer says, I have to see this tomorrow. We are without our Italian Shred correspondent today, but that's okay. You can, of course, catch this on the replay. Helmet Strap is in the house, saying, I really need this lesson. Been playing for years and still unable to play fast. Especially those fast repeating bluesy licks. Those are tough, man. Those are tougher than, I think, the 3-note string shreddy stuff, let me tell you. Cranky Tom is in the house, says, hope everything is fine. I'm slowly recovering from my trigger finger surgery. At least it reminds me to use a lighter touch. I'm glad you're putting a positive spin on that, man, and I hope you're recovering well. Trigger finger's no joke, but again, you got the surgery, and you'll be right as rain before you know it. Let's say some more hellos. Foghornish is here, and he's asking some questions about the Marshall DSL 20H head. He got one last Monday to replace his old JCM 2000, which is a bit heavy for him. I really like the 20-watt Marshalls, right? I'm going to throw that out there right now. So I have my allegiances. You guys know that I'm a Victory artist and I am Victory to the core, but I do have lurking over my shoulder. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. I'll see if I can show you on this camera. It may be out of focus, but we'll see. On this camera, no, we can't see them. That's a shame. I'll maybe try and pull them in a little bit over here. I have a pair of these Marshall 20-watt combos. This is the Studio JTM, and I have a Studio Vintage down there, and I really like them. They're really, really cool, man. I don't have a DSL, but the DSL is great. I also have one of the Studio Classics, the 800, kicking around behind me, which is one of my Marshalls of choice. Occasionally I'll use the Victory Super Sheriff. I really like that. It has its own voice, but when I need the Marshall thing, sometimes you just got to reach for a Marshall, and I love them. I think they're really, really great. Who else do we have? Let's say some more hellos. Timothy Appling says he can't part with any amps. Let me tell you, right, you've got so many amps, Timothy. It's not even funny, right? So, did I tell you guys about the amp switchers? I don't think I did. So we were talking about amp switchers, right? And since then, since we last spoke, we have an amp switcher on the way, right? An amp switcher is coming. I'm going to hide these graphics and show you this very quickly because you guys can see down here what I've got is my Waza tube amp expander. That is the load box that we're listening through. You'll notice there's a blank space here that I haven't even screwed in. This is a blank space in my rack because what's coming, thanks to our friends at N Audio, is an 8x7 amp switcher. We'll be using all these great amps behind me because I love them. I plug them in occasionally. We can't use them on stream because I'd have to re-plug them and plug them in, and the Super Kraken is my go-to, so I use that all the time, but we'll be using all sorts of different amps on stream because of that. So Timothy Appling, you inspired me to press on with that, and I'm really excited to see it. Anyway, some more quick hellos. Very quickly, Raphael is here. Our friend Chris is in the house. Kate Strange is here. Response Audio is here. Make sure we don't miss anybody. Larry Warren, we've already said hello to, but it's good to see you. Our friend Trolls Tajern, whose name I can never pronounce, is in the house. It's great to have you on board. You can call me Tamarix is in the house with a very nice compliment. Thank you very much. The Swede Guitar Dude, welcome on board. Ergo Hog is here. Dylan Jessup is here. Dreams is here. Block 18 is here. Who else do I have? I think we've got everyone. Little Abner's Clubhouse is in the house. Our friend Panu is here. Mal Riley's in the house. Jade Abarta's here. And my friend Georgie is watching on Facebook. Man, it is great to hear from you. I hope you're well. Haven't spoken in a very long time, right? Great dude. Fantastic vocalist. Anyway, let's get on to the stream. So we're going to begin with some obstacles that may be in your way when it comes to playing faster. And we're going to approach this from a few perspectives. We're going to approach it mostly from a technical perspective, i.e. what are you doing with your hands? But we're also going to talk a little bit about some things that you might be doing with your instrument that may or may not be causing you bother. Because the reason for this is I've recently been experimenting with some lighter strings, some lighter string gauges. Now, normally I'm a 10 to 46 kind of guy. I've put a set of 9.5s on this guitar, and let me tell you, it's absolutely ripping. It feels so freaking good. And I'm going to tell you the catalyst to this. So the catalyst for me doing this is I started noticing my chops were kind of getting a little bit scrappy, mainly because I haven't had any serious guitar recording projects for a while. So, you know, and by serious, what I mean is, you know, things that require me to play very seriously. I've had plenty of serious projects where it's had to be really good, but nothing that's really challenged me as a player, it's just been stuff that I've had to, you know, play well, but it's been well within my limits. And rather than going back to my usual stuff, I've got lots of things that I normally practice, but I thought what I'd do as a bit of a laugh is revisit one of my favorite practice routines from back in the day. So for you guys who don't know, myself and a load of other great guitar players who I know used to work for the Yamaha music school system. And this is how a lot of us met. So much like a lot of great guys met on the John Petrucci forum, we're talking guys like Tom Quayle, Jack Gardner, Rick Graham, etc. Myself, Tom Quayle, that is, Stuart Shields, a bunch of other guys that we know were teachers for the Yamaha system. And it's a really cool system. Anyway, we won't get into that, right? But it's a very cool system, let me tell you. And I met lots of great players there, learned a lot of very valuable skills. But part of the culture that I really liked was we all used to gather around and have what we would call chop builder parties, where we'd sit and we'd play Frank Gambale's Chop Builder. Now, if you've never done Chop Builder, it is a fantastic and hilarious video workout that's aged exceptionally poorly, right? It's the most 90s thing you've ever seen, right down to the outfits and some very casual misogyny, which probably is best not to draw attention to because, hey, some weird stuff going on there. But anyway, it was the 90s. It was a weird time. We won't get into it. But even still, the actual workout going on, tremendous. Absolutely beautiful. And a big emphasis in Chop Builder is the endurance part of it, specifically the scales round, which is a real test of your capacity to play not just fast and cleanly, it's not super fast, but to be able to play consistently for a long period of time. And this led me to reassess my guitar's setup. Now, we're going to talk about that in a second, but before we do, let's do something Chop Builder-esque. We're going to play some scales, and we're going to test our endurance with some scales. Now, this will reveal not just our ability to play quickly, but it'll reveal our ability to play quickly sustainably, which also hints at some broader, bigger technical issues that may need fixing. We've got some love for Chop Builder. I friggin' love Chop Builder, right? It's so good. I've turned all of my university students onto it as I've sent them away for the summer because our semester is finishing soon. So I've turned them all on Chop Builder and gone, you know what? Like, you just need to work on this over the summer. It's really great. Even just the first 3 rounds, you know, because they all know the scales. But the first 3 rounds, that'll be a treat, right? And then the interval scales round, it's very, very, very difficult. So anyway, if we're going to play, we need something to play. So let's do it together. We're going to go to these cameras while I show you. We're going to be playing in the key of B minor for this next example. I'll just go to a clean sound quickly and show you what's going on. Let's just turn the delay off because that's going to get annoying quickly. What we're looking for very quickly in this key of B minor is the following shape. We're going to keep it nice and simple. We will play from this A note. We're going to play A, and then following on to fret number 7, fret number 9, we'll repeat that across 3 strings. 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9. The next thing we'll play will be 6, 7, 9, which is a 1, 2, 4 shape, and then 7, 8, 10. So we have these 3 stretchy shapes, these 2, 1, 2, 4 shapes, and then finally we'll play 7 and 9 on the high string and repeat. Now, we don't need to do it at crazy speeds, right? We're going to do this at sort of a medium fast kind of tempo. It will be quite fast, and for some of you this will be very fast. For others, you'll find it quite comfortable, quite easy. We'll figure that out as we go on. Joe Johnson with a very great observation here, saying speed has come fairly easy for me, but fatigue is definitely an issue. Well, this is something that we're going to address in this stream in particular, right? So we've got our backing track. Backing track's rolling around. I'm just going to quickly pull this up in volume. Hopefully you guys can hear this. This is one of our new cinematic backing tracks available on licklibrary.com. We're going to play at this kind of speed. We'll go. Now what I want to know from you is whether or not this is something that's sustainable. A quick reminder of the scale. It's 5, 7, 9 on the lowest 3 strings. 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9, 6, 7, 9, 7, 8, 10, 7, 9, and then back down. So we're going to play it like this, with whichever technique you feel most comfortable with. We can alternate pick it, we can economy pick it. I don't have strong feelings on that. But I just want to know if you can play this with me. And we're going to keep going and see if we burn out at any point. It should feel fairly comfortable. A couple of different technique changes there. Is anyone running out of steam yet? Let me know in the comments, once you finish playing, if you find yourself running out of steam, running out of speed, running out of energy. It is in fact hard to play and type at the same time. It's hard to read the comments and talk at the same time. Okay, we're gonna make this the last repetition. Here we go. Okay, let me know in the comments now that we've finished, right? Let me know that we've finished, because it was a bit mean of me to go, hey, let me know while you're playing. I'm not gonna make you do that, right? But let me know now that we're finished. Is that something that you're able to keep up with, right? Are you able to keep up with? Is it something that causes you a lot of difficulty, a lot of stress on the hands? Do you run out of steam, or are you okay? Because what this is going to reveal about us is not just the speed aspect, but it's going to reveal how efficient our technique is. Now, in terms of efficiency, we can think about our playing efficiency in a few different ways, but what it ultimately boils down to is putting in the least amount of effort for the most amount of return. Now we're going to take a quick second, and for you shredders who are able to play along with this, and we're going to speed things up. So we'll play a wee bit faster and see if we're still able to keep this kind of pace going. The same scale, but this time what we'll do is we'll play it at this kind of clip. Let's just see how this works. Same scale. So we've had this. Let's try playing. Yeah, that'll work. Still a repetition on the top. We'll go. So on and so forth. Now, let's try that together. That's going to be our pace. Let's see how well we do with this. This pick is very worn, but I'll try my best with it. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, with that faster pace, was that okay? Or did anything weird start to happen? If you guys are experiencing all good stuff, that's great. But you guys who are having trouble with this, which I know some of you will be having trouble with, right? It's a challenging thing. We're going to get into why. We're going to get into what's going on here. Some of you guys are just chops monsters who are able to keep along with this, and that is fantastic, right? I'm pleased about this, right? Pleased about that. But what our efficiency is going to tell us, it's going to tell us a little bit about how fast we're able to play, but it's also going to tell us about how sustainably we're able to play, right? Here's one from our friend Raphael, who it's become a running joke at this point. It says, Sam Bell repeats patterns 8 times. I'm never able to do it even with dirty notes, right? Okay, now what this points at is something that a lot of guitar players struggle with, which is the efficiency and sustainability of their technique. Now what this comes down to, again, is your ability to put in as much or as little effort as possible and get as much return on your technique, as much back out of the guitar as is possible. Now, this comes down to a few things. It comes down to a lack of tension in the hands, keeping the hands nice and comfortable and clean and easy, but it also comes down to an instrument that cooperates with you, right? So we're going to do another little experiment with this. I'm going to throw some drums on and I'm going to see what we can do with some slightly more challenging ideas. So we'll chuck some drums on. Hopefully you guys are going to hear this. We'll do these ones because they're probably a little bit more easily audible. We're currently at 80 beats per minute, right? We've got a few folks saying, I have to think about the rhythm at faster speed. That is true. Mike Seedorf says, all good after getting, if you're getting caught on the return, a little awkward. Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, so we're going to play some stuff and we're going to find a biting point where this stuff gets really difficult. So we'll go back to our same pattern and we're going to start with the same rough kind of tempo that we had before. We're going to go back to 16th notes to make it easier for ourselves. We've got some observations about technique here. Hopefully this is working for everyone. What I want to find is the speed where things get tight for you. So that's 80. Let's bump it. Let's play along at 100 and see where we get to. Ready? A 1, 2, 3, 4. If everyone's okay at 100, then we'll move on. But we're going to get 8 repetitions on here because Sam did 8. So I'm going to get 8. We'll have 2 more. Oops. Just to show you what it's like when we hit that roadblock. Okay. So there's 100 BPM, let's go to 115 BPM. Come on, drums, behave. 115, right about here. Okay, same thing. Let us know when this starts to become a problem, when things start to get tight or start to get uncoordinated, and then we'll explore from there. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Two more. Nice. Let's go up. Let's see where we get to. Let's take this up to 130. Wow, getting quick now, right? 8 repetitions, same deal. I want to know from you, first of all, if you're able to keep up, but secondly, if you're able to do all 8 repetitions. And if you are, fantastic, right? We'll move on. We're not going to go too much further than this, but we will maybe do one more after the fact for you shredders, right? Okay, so let's go. I've lost my pick already. This pick is sliding around in my hands. Okay, I clearly messed up there, but I'm going to put that down to the fact that his pick is slipping all over the place. Right, let's keep going. We're going to go a little bit further. That's 130. Let's take it up to 145 and see where that gets us. Again, 8 repetitions. Let me know if you're able to keep up or if you have fallen off. If you've fallen off, it's okay because this will be our last one. We'll get into some things you can do to fix it in a second. Ready? Here we go. A 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Two more. And you can see that's starting to unravel for me there at that point. It's something I can play, but it's starting to get a little bit unravelly. Things are starting to kind of fall apart for me there. And the culprit, some guys saying I'm out. Yep, me too. The culprit is tension. This is where this all starts to come apart for you. And this is what leads me to string gauges, because we're going to perform a small experiment here. Here is a small experiment. I want to know what string gauge you're playing, but here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a quick second, and we're going to take our guitar and we're going to detune the guitar. We're going to detune it by one semitone. Right? So if you're currently playing in E, we're going to tune it to E flat. If you're currently playing in E flat, we'll tune it to D standard, etc. Whatever it is, it's going to be one semitone in range. Now I'll take a quick second and detune my own guitar down here. Let's go, in my case, to E flat and see where this gets us. Now what this might do, this is an interesting thing, right? A little thing. So, some folks saying over 130, I started making mistakes. Me too. Me too. But the pick was sliding around. That's my excuse, right? That's my excuse. I'm sticking with it. So we'll quickly detune the guitar. You guys can take a quick second and check. This will put our scale on the same frets into B flat, right? Exactly the same thing. The evening not to have a Floyd-equipped guitar, says Ergo Hog. I did warn you. I did warn you, right? I did say, get me a guitar without a locking tremolo system. Okay, we're in E flat now. Same thing, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the tempo where most people started tapping out, which was 130. We'll back it down to 115. Now that we have a... Dream's asking if the pitch shifter is allowed. The pitch shifter is not allowed because the purpose of this is not to... it's not so much to change the pitch of the guitar, but it's to change the feel of the guitar. Now take a quick second and feel what it's like to have that level of lightness on the string. Feels very comfortable, right? Very slack, very easy. We like this. This is going to point towards something, and it's going to point towards whether or not your setup is one of the things that is maybe hindering your capacity to play quickly. Because, as we talked about with efficiency, it's minimum amount of input for maximum amount of output. And if you got bigger, heavier strings, you got higher action, you have to put in more effort. It's just the way of things. We'll get into that in a second. This is not me saying you should use the lightest possible strings and the lowest possible action. There is an appropriate point for this for everyone. And I believe that many players are using two strings that are too heavy. And we'll get into why. But anyway, Rick Beato agrees with me. So anyway, not that I've ever met Rick. I've met him very briefly, but he wouldn't know. He'd be like, who is that guy? Anyway, unimportant. So, same thing. We're at 115, but now in B flat with our lighter sounding strings, our lighter feeling strings. Let's go. May take an adjustment. Focus on your lightness. How light can you play this? Three more. Stay light. Okay, that is 115. Let's get up to 130. That was a point where lots of folks could do it, but it's starting to fall apart. Let's go. Let's see how we get it. Ready? 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Two more. Have we got it? I think that felt a little bit better. I don't know about you, but I think that felt a little bit better. Let's go up a little bit further. We're going to get up to 145, which is the tempo that absolutely fell apart for me last time. Everything went tight and everything got a bit grippy, and it was bad, right? So with this slightly lighter setup, let's play. Let's see how we get on. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more. Woo! Notice how that was so much cleaner, so much better. I don't know how you felt, but I felt like that was a lot more on, right? A lot more on. Now, this is hinting at something. This is not to say that, oh, well, if you can't play, you should just tune your guitar by a semitone, but it hints at something. If it was easier, it suggests to me that you may be using a heavier setup than you necessarily need to on your guitar. A heavier setup than you need to. And it would cause me to encourage you to maybe experiment with a lighter setup first of all and see if that improves things for you, because we're able to expend less effort, which makes things more efficient, which makes things lighter on the hands. It's easier. It means we don't need to expend as much energy, and it means theoretically at least we can play faster because our technique is more efficient. Now, this is not something it is not something that is appropriate for everybody, right? There is a biting point for this stuff. Now, it's my contention, as is the contention with lots of folks, that there is no better or worse string gauge, and there is no better or worse action height or setup, in the same way that there is no better or worse shoe size. Right, we talk about this all the time, right? Having size 10 shoes is not better or worse than having size 11 shoes, or having size 9 shoes, or size 8 shoes, size 3 shoes, whatever. The only shoe size that matters is the one that fits you, right? And the same is true for string gauge, and the same is true for action height. And how we find this is we find it by exploring where things feel good. Now, if we kept going with this, if we kept detuning our guitar, right, we kept detuning the guitar down and down and down and down and down, we'd find a point where things were just impossible to play because things were far too slack and we wouldn't be able to play with the appropriate amount of lightness. Now, if you're already happy with your string gauge, but you feel like the left hand is tiring, you can experiment with lowering the guitar's action, perhaps. Now, for myself, I tend to play with an action that's quite low. I tend to play with 1 mil on the treble side, 1.5 mil on the bass side. It requires a certain lightness of touch, but what you're rewarded with is an exceptionally easy and comfortable and relaxed playing experience that maximizes your ability to play quickly. Now, this is for me. This is not for everyone. I know lots of players who do just fine with very high actions. But I will also say with this, that this is not something that you can predict based upon things like, Jason Berry says, lighter strings equals faster playing. Does that mean larger shoes I can dunk? Not necessarily. The point I'm getting at with this, Jason, is to reiterate this, is it's not me saying that lighter strings are automatically better. It's me saying that there is an appropriate string gauge, which may or may not be the one you're using right now, right? It may or may not be the one you're using right now. Now, this is not something that is predicated on things like physical strength, physical size, hand strength, or any of that sort of stuff. If anyone on the planet were a candidate for big strings and a big action, it would be Muggins here, it would be me. A variety of reasons. First of all, I'm a large person, I have large hands. For anybody who's watching, I'm a sniff under 6'3". I am currently sitting a little under 110 kilos in body weight. I'm a competitive powerlifter. I have a deadlift record. I'm going for another one quite soon. I have quite strong hands, right? Strong hands is not an issue, but as if that wasn't enough, when I'm not playing the old shred, I play a lot of slide. So, right, slide guitar, big deadlift, large person, big hands, big strings, high action, right? Not necessarily. Now, the next thing we might address with this is tone. I'm going to encourage you to go watch Rick Beato's video on that, right? Because that's not something we can cover today. Your tone will not suffer, right? The tone is best where your capacity to play meets the guitar's setup. Where it meets, right? Where it meets. Here's one from Rob W. He's asking, I just joined in, quick question. I have different gauge strings on all my guitars. Would it be better if making them all the same? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. The point with this is to find the string gauge that is appropriate for you, right? Appropriate for you and appropriate for each guitar. because each guitar is going to feel slightly different. You may also use different guitars for different things. So I don't think that's an issue, right? I don't think it's an issue, but I think as long as the guitar feels comfortable, we are good. One from Joe Johnson saying, if I use less than 10s, I bend in oblivion. Now, this is an interesting thing, right? Because when we find this quite a lot. I find a lot of folks who say, oh, I can't bend in tune with anything less than 10s. This is interesting because your bending should not be predicated on force production. You shouldn't be putting a lot of strength into the bend. If you feel like you're having to really like apply pressure to bend, you may be gripping too much. You may be applying too much force to the instrument. The bend should feel quite light. It shouldn't feel like something where if you press with a certain amount of pressure, it goes out of tune. The bend should be a function of you listening to a pitch and reacting to it. And as such, if your bend is appropriately light in terms of your touch, you should be able to bend in tune on basically any string gauge. Unless it's one that is crazy heavy. For example, if you're playing 13s, I can't even get, well, maybe get a tone. I can't get a tone and a half out of it, that is for sure. We've got some questions about scale length. Scale length will influence this. This is a 24 3/4 inch scale guitar. Most of my guitars are 25 inch scale. I have some that are 25.5 inch. That will influence things for sure. But the point with this is not me prescribing a single gauge that is the correct gauge. I am going to retune to standard tuning for this, by the way. So anybody who's tuned down, take this opportunity to tune back up. This is not me prescribing a particular gauge and saying 9s are better or 8s are better or 10s are better. It's about finding one that works for you, and we can test this with this efficiency test because it requires us to measure by playing, and by playing fast and repeated lines, how light or how hard we're playing, and how much effort we're putting in, and how quickly things start to drag for us. And it's one of the great benefits of the Eld Chop Builder. Now that we've got a technique dialed, right? Now that we've got a setup dialed, rather, and we've established, okay, this setup works for me, this setup doesn't work for me, let's take that a little step further. And we're going to take this tension idea and this idea of playing with minimum effort and apply this to our existing guitar setup, because this is another obstacle. One of the obstacles is setup, but another obstacle can be tension, it can be gripping in the hands. And this is something I want to highlight because it's something that I fall foul of and I have to keep an eye on, which is the not gripping business. Now, when we play, certainly when we play fast stuff, we have this response. If something is difficult, if something is challenging for us, we have this response to try harder. Now, tell me if this is you, right? Tell me if this is you. When something becomes difficult, even if it's something that is kind of objectively the same sort of thing in terms of speed and in terms of fingers, but when we start to play things that are difficult, we start to tense up, right? We start to put more effort in. But we've already established that more effort is kind of the enemy of what we're trying to achieve here, right? We don't want more effort. We want less effort. We want as little effort as we can make in order to produce fast notes, right? Because if we're putting maximal grip into the guitar every time we play it, we're not going to be able to play as fast as we possibly can. Let's just do a quick experiment, right? A quick experiment on this. What I'm going to get you guys to do is I'm going to get you to experiment, first of all, with your pick grip. Here's one from Mal Riley, a great question. I'm going to get onto this in a second. He's asking, do you have any thoughts about alternate picking? Does it matter if you start each string down or upstroke so you can bounce off one string to the other? I don't think it makes a massive difference. I think there's a personal preference element here. You could be idealistic and say you should be able to do both, but in reality, I think as long as you've got a technique that's comfortable and you're able to play notes that sound like a picked note and go click at the start, I don't have strong feelings about how you go about it. Anyway, we're going to experiment with grip, right? And we're going to see what happens when we start to apply a lot of grip and a lot of effort into our playing, right? So let's see. Raphael says, if I were your size, I would have teared my guitar. If I grip the guitar, things become a problem, right? Because I do have quite a strong grip when I need it. But here's the thing, right? When I grip really powerfully, I can bend the guitar out of tune, which is annoying, right? So even if I'm not gripping the fretboard particularly hard, even if I just do it like this, if I put a lot of weight onto the guitar's neck, it can start to bow in tuning, which is quite annoying. So this kind of like extra grip and extra power is counterproductive, not just in terms of like, you know, the speed, but also in terms of the tone and the tuning accuracy. Anyway, grip time. So we're going to take something that we should all be able to play reasonably comfortably, which is going to be an exercise that goes 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll play it on the D string, because why not? The frets are going to be 5, 6, 7, and 8. Easy enough. Let's throw some drums on. Let's play together. We're going to begin with a light-ish pick grip. We're at 120 BPM. It's not going to be super fast, but we're going to make it hard for ourselves, right? Light grip on the pick. Don't let it fall out of your hand, but a light-ish grip. We're going to go. Doesn't matter if we're making mistakes. It's just about feeling if this feels comfortable or even possible, right? Next thing I'm going to get you to do, same thing, grip the ever-loving out of your pick. Just crush that pick, right? Try and leave your thumbprint in the pick if you can. We should feel everything in the forearm gripping and tensing when we do this. We get white knuckles, the whole 9 yards, right? So from here, light grip, heavy grip. Wow. That's a problem. Right away, that's an issue. Let's do it again. Light grip. Let's go to a tight grip, the tightest grip we can. Here we go. Yak. Awful, right? It's difficult to control, and speeds that were previously attainable to us are now off the table. Why? Because we are tensing up, we are tightening up, and this is what happens not just when we, forget ourselves and start to crush the guitar and start to grip the guitar, but it's also something that happens when we are uncertain of what it is that we're about to play. If there's something that is difficult, and maybe we don't necessarily have it under our fingers or inside of our ears yet, we can get this response of, ooh, grip, tighten, try harder. So we must do things to eliminate this ability, or eliminate this tendency to try hard when it's time to play fast, right? This is going to require us to reframe our thinking a little bit about playing fast, but it's going to require us to think less about playing fast as being hard. Don't think about it as being something that's difficult. Think about it as being something that is light and requires a light mercurial touch, right? Volume will come. If you care about volume, volume will come. You can have volume with a light touch. You don't need to worry about that. Volume will arrive. Light strings, you can have volume with light strings. That's no problem. It's not an issue. If you want big sounding notes, the big sounding notes will be there. They will come in time. But we need to think about lightness when it's time to play. Lightness, lightness, lightness. And this can be as simple as mentally cueing yourself while you play to play light. Just say to yourself, light. Imagine that your fingers are dancing on the guitar strings. Like there's no effort at all. Joe Satriani talks about this as like having a ball of mercury in his hand that he just rolls around and goes, that's nice. If you imagine the mercury out of a thermometer, you put it in the ball of your hand and you just roll it around like that and you go, that's quite a nice feeling. I quite like that. We've got some questions from Justin Ray about picks. We'll talk about picks in a second. I'm going to address that, Justin. Don't you worry. I will get to that. I promise, right? I promise. Here's one from Foghorn. It's saying, I find that if I fret lighter, it helps mute the strings, especially when alternate picking, through the strings rather than economy picking. For sure, 100%, right? If we are lighter with our touch, we're less likely to make noise on the guitar, right? I've showed you this demonstration before, but watch this, right? I'm going to mute the A string, so the A string doesn't make a sound. I'm going to hammer on gently on the A string. I'm not touching the E string, but listen to what happens to the E string when I start to hammer on heavier and heavier. You can hear it start to make its little presence known. Let's put some distortion in there, right? Some distortion in the mix. Hopefully the amp won't scream. Please don't scream, amp. Here we go, right? Light hammer-ons. Muted A string, right? E string's not doing anything. Oh, I touched it. Let's do the D string. Hear that extra noise coming in? That doesn't happen when I play lightly. Or if it does happen, it doesn't happen anywhere near as much. So it's a noise thing too, right? And then what happens is when the noise is coming in, you tense up and you try and grip the noise. It's a pain in the neck, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play some stuff. We're going to throw the backing track on and we're going to trade some bars. We're going to be in the key of B minor. If you haven't retuned, you will have to play in C minor to keep up. But I've retuned. I'm back in B minor. It's B Aeolian, right? I'm going to play some stuff. I'm going to get you guys to play, but I want you to hold this word in your head as you play. Light. Light. All we care about is, does it feel light? Does it feel gentle? Take a second and just caress your guitar and get it feeling really nice. I'm going to play, you can play right after, and we'll see how we get on. Little tension there, let me go again. Bit of delay too. Your turn. B minor. Play me some stuff, play me some fast stuff, whatever fast means to you. But think light the whole time. Light, light, light. That is what we're looking for. The lightest of touches. The lightest of touches. Keep it super, super gentle, super, super light. And we're winning. I'll let you go a little bit longer because the efficiency is important here. Then we'll take some shorter passes. If you want some inspiration, I'll give you some licks that we can play. And it might involve that same scale from before. Maybe we'll play that, but we'll play it quickly, right? I'm going to take a pass. I'm going to play with this scale from previous. Very light. Picking a bit hard there. Woof, on we go. You guys take a turn. That low B is very rewarding. I like that low B in that backing track. I've done you dirty there, I've given you a very short pass, but you get the gist, right? You get the idea, I am sure. Now, here is the deal with this, right? Here's the deal. This takes some cultivation for it to become automatic, but if you are struggling with speed, sorry, I've got my necklace caught in my microphone, I'm sure it's making an awful racket. Let me just move that a little bit. There was hybrid picking during the fast pastures, Jason Perry is asking. There was indeed, and actually the hybrid picking kind of tripped me up because I was picking a bit too aggressively, if anything. I've been playing a lot of acoustic today and I'm in that playing too hard kind of mode. So yes, it did. Let me just show you on these cameras very quickly so you can see what's happening. The licks are never the same each time. I'm usually improvising them, but you'll get the gist. You get the idea. So for the legato thing, I like a bit of hybrid. Just what felt right at the time. I do like myself a little bit of hybrid picking. So yes, indeed, there was some hybrid picking going on there. Now, anyway, the point with this is there's a troubleshooting process going on here. And the troubleshooting process is if things start to feel bad, look first for tension. If things start to feel slow or awkward or uncomfortable, look for tension first and see if you can eliminate it. If you can get rid of tension in the hands, well, I think that'll go a long way towards troubleshooting this in real time. And it's one of the obstacles that you can immediately remove from your pursuit of speed. Now, folks, that's some easy obstacles. Get your guitar set up dialed. Get it working with you, right? Don't work against it. Don't be a martyr to your strings, right? Second thing is make sure that your playing is appropriately light. We've got other things. There is so much more that goes into this pie, and we're going to be talking about that in future streams. We're going to be having 5 whole streams on this very topic, right? We're going to be pursuing all of this for the remainder of this month. We're going to talk about practice. We're going to talk about technique. We're going to talk about all the things that go into playing faster. This is just a little simple introduction to them, but I'm sure you have questions, and I'm going to address as many of them as I possibly can. So here's a great one. We've talked about our friend Rab. I'm going to address this one. Here's one from Justin Ray. It says, what about softer picks being like weights to help develop speed and control? I'm a fan of harder picks to have a more relaxed grip. Yeah, I'm into this idea, right? I don't think it's something that I do a great deal, truthfully, because I'm personally a believer that specificity is important when it comes to developing skill. And what I mean by specificity is being specific with your practice, making your practice specific to the things that you're trying to play. So if you're going to play with a harder pick, I feel like practicing with a harder pick is the same idea. Now, I also don't think, for example, practicing on an acoustic guitar with a very high action, heavy strings, so that when you play your electric, it feels easy. I don't think that's a great idea either. Because what ends up happening is your technique dials to a very aggressive touch, and then you end up transferring that across to your light touch playing. However, it doesn't mean you should never do that. And variation is useful, right? We've already talked about this. Close variation of practice is, I should probably better change the banner actually. I've realized we're doing the Q&A now. Yeah. Close variations in terms of practice are very valuable, right? And variation for variation's sake is important. So just changing things for the sake of changing them can be really useful, because your body has to have a little moment of like figuring out, hold on, how do I play this obscure instrument of Spanish derivation again? And that again is a powerful thing, right? Being able to take a second and figure out, what does the guitar do? How do I play the guitar? That is an important moment. So yes, I think it's useful. However, tread cautiously, because if you find that you play with a softer pick and then playing with your preferred pick feels worse consistently, might not be the right variation. However, maybe a very good variation. It's hard to say, right? It's hard to say. But yes, here's one from, again, from Justin Ray saying, I remember you saying the softer picks were more like writing with a rubber pencil, where it doesn't go where you like it. That's a Guthrie quote. I pulled that from Guthrie. Stole that from Guthrie Govan. Yes, 100%, right? The soft pick sometimes just doesn't do what you want it to do. But again, you know, cultivating control, never a bad thing, right? Never a bad thing, in my opinion. Here's a great one from Joe Johnson, right? He's saying, do you think practicing around 70 to 80% of your max can also help maintain your chops without burnout? Absolutely. 100%, right? Not 100% that you should play at, but I 100% agree with this statement. I endorse this statement. The thing with this is, with playing at our maximum comes its own little suite of problems. We'll be addressing this in a stream going further forward, right? In a stream going forward, we'll be talking about best practices for practice. Well, that's coming, right? That is coming. But unfortunately, we're running clean out of time. We're running out of time. And folks, I gotta go, right? But listen, it's been a lot of fun. We are just getting started with this stuff. Quick one from Mikey Hignite saying, what scale did you say you're improvising over? It was B minor in this case, B Aeolian. We were playing. But folks, I'm going to bid you adieu. However, here's the thing, right? Make sure on your way out the door that you hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and consider going to this link, right? This is a link from our friends at licklibrary.com, who are, of course, bringing you these streams. This is the link, right? You'll find it in the comments. This is a deal on Lick Library memberships. If you can't click the link, just screenshot this and go and type it into your browser, right? Because this will take you to an offer that's running right now for 33% off your annual membership. And we've got loads of great stuff on licklibrary.com that takes the stuff we're learning in these streams and turns it up to 11, so to speak. But in the meantime, let's play some more fast stuff. I will see you guys next week. We do this every Monday. Don't forget, we'll see you next Monday. Put a little mark in your diary. We will see you then. Thank you so much. I will see you guys next time. Let's play.